So good afternoon. We're hoping that everyone is having a great day, and we're excited that you're here with us for our first virtual annual meeting of the United Way. As a committed volunteer of United Way for over 30 years, I've shared experiences in the best of times and the worst of times in our community, but we have always rebounded with resiliency. As we share who we are as a United Way, we share our commitment to advancing the common good by creating opportunities for a better life for all. Faced with the challenges of COVID-19, as well as the racial unrest in our nation and abroad, I cannot think of any greater time than now to reaffirm this commitment. We must continue our work to fight for the health, education, and financial stability of every person in our community. We appreciate the passion, expertise, and resources each of you bring to the table to get the work done. Stay focused on the cause to live united. It is my honor to welcome you to the United Way of Southeast Louisiana's virtual 2020 annual meeting. Thank you to everyone who is joining us for today's event. While the setting is different this year, the United Way team is still taking this opportunity to say thank you, recognize excellence, and take care of important business. I'll be serving as the moderator today to make sure today's meeting runs as smoothly as possible, and I was willing. I'd like to take care of some housekeeping to get us started today so you know what to expect and how to engage. You'll hear from Michael Williamson as he acknowledges staff and provides an update on the year's progress. We'll recognize our Live United Award winners, our new board leadership and members, and announce our top 10 most generous workplaces for the 2019-2020 year. As we move throughout the meeting, we welcome you to send words of encouragement or congratulations to all those being recognized today in the chat box. Make sure you select the option to send the chat to all attendees and participants so we can celebrate together. And as donors for United Way, you have a chance to submit your vote to pass on the board matters. We will unmute your microphones momentarily at that time. If you should experience any technical difficulties while tuning in, please know that we are recording today's meeting and will send a link to view the recording following the event. With that, I'd like to welcome Michael Williamson, United Way of Southeast Louisiana's President and CEO. Michael.
Thanks, Toya. You've always been a part of our United Way of Southeast Louisiana family. You've been so for so long, it's hard to imagine United Way without your passion, support, and leadership. And so we want to thank you on behalf of all we serve for all you do to make our community a better place for all of our people. As we begin, I'd like to acknowledge several of our volunteers and supporters and other key folks that are important in supporting our work. First, I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge my teammates. There's not one part of our work that's done without their collective support and leadership, and so I'm truly appreciative of them. And certainly the legislative officials that work with us every day to make sure that we advance policy that works for all folks in our region. Our leadership council members from the areas we serve, including Blackman, St. Bernard, St. Tammany Parish, Changeable Parish, and Washington Parish as well. Also to our Tocqueville Society members and our founder of the chapter here in New Orleans, Mr. C. Allen Favreau. For those of you who know Mr. Allen, you know that he is a dynamo when it comes to Tocqueville. And our $1 Million Roundtable donors, our founders, Bob and Cheryl Merrick, David Finley and Carlos Sanchez, John and Dathel Georges, Frank and Paulette Stewart, and the late Wayne and Jackie Leonard. And also members of our Women United, Young Leaders Movement, Mission Ignition, and Retire United affinity groups. These individuals, like you, fight every day for folks in our community that we serve. And our United Way partner agencies and our collaborative partners, we all know without them, this work wouldn't simply get done. And then to those who make the work happen with their resources, our top 60 most generous companies, and we're going to take time to honor them later. And last but not least, our board of directors and committee chairs, thank you all for your leadership. Even in challenging times like this, you've really stepped up to do your part in support of United Way. And of course, we want to thank each of you that are committed to United Way's mission, eradicating poverty in Southeast Louisiana, and tuning in to our virtual annual meeting today. I also like to take a moment, if you will, to acknowledge two staff members who share that same commitment and have reached a milestone in their work with United Way, their anniversaries with United Way. And so first, I'd like to recognize, the fearsome or fearless Charmaine Cassiope, who has now served 15 years with our United Way. For those of you who know that Charmaine, since the day she started, she's been working hard to create change in the community through her fierce and dedicated public policy efforts. And then also Missy Ramagosa, who's been with our United Way for 20 years as a stalwart leader in our marketing division. Who anything that you see we present to the public, Missy's leadership and her hand has been involved in that. And so Missy, thanks for your leadership, and Charmaine, you as well for dedicating so much of your lives to United Way. And with that, I'm excited to share with you a quick 30-second PSA with a brief update on all of the amazing impact we've generated surrounding COVID-19 since the beginning of the outbreak here at home.
Because you give to United Way, we were able to create nearly $8 million in local COVID-19 relief. Our volunteers packed and delivered over 300,000 meals to individuals in need. We provided over $2 million in funding to nonprofits and millions more in crisis grants to help people make ends meet. And that's only the beginning. United Way. Here then, today, tomorrow. Visit unitedwaysela.org.
And let me just tell you, that's just the tip of the iceberg. I'd like to take a moment now to also extend my thoughts and prayers to the attendees and loved ones affected by COVID-19, and are still feeling the pain and sadness of our country in these trying times. But I hope that you'll find confidence in the fact that your United Way is built for this moment, and I promise we won't let you down. You see, United Way of Southeast Louisiana has been here for 95 years. We've always been on the front lines of community problems, both everyday problems and those born out of crisis. And the bottom line is, we would not have been able to respond immediately and get the help where it's needed most if it wasn't for your year-round support. You see, in times of disaster, United Way supports households in need, puts out accurate information, and leads long-term recovery. And we have a unique pulse on people's needs. We listen and respond with unparalleled impact. That's why partners are important to us, and they turn to us. But we do more than just respond in times of crisis. We're also focused on the bigger picture and the struggles that face our community, while recognizing that equitable access to economic opportunity is a great equalizer. Therefore, we continue to target investments according to our blueprint for prosperity to eradicate poverty and stabilize ALICE households, those households that are asset limited, income constrained, yet work and are employed. See, COVID-19 makes ALICE and those living at the edge of ALICE more unstable than ever, and we just can't accept that. And the Blueprint for Prosperity makes us uniquely well positioned to lead our community through both blue skies and gray skies. And at this moment, we're investing in programs focused on poverty, inspiring others to adopt our vision, informing others with data and innovative practices so they can accelerate their own impact, initiating new collaborations where they're needed most. And there is clear evidence that our United Way is on the front lines, mobilizing to provide vital services for those in need. Now, I'm proud to say United Way of Southeast Louisiana has generated over $9 million in impact, and that number is growing rapidly. You see, we reaffirmed our commitment to our 62 partner agencies and their programs, ensuring that our funding for their programs would not be reduced. We contributed $100,000 to the Greater New Orleans Foundation Disaster Response and Restoration Fund, providing an immediate infusion of funding to struggling nonprofits. We then launched our Hospitality Cares Pandemic Response Fund in partnership with our friends at the Louisiana Hospitality Foundation, which has raised over $2.4 million to support over 4,800 hospitality industry families with one-time $500 emergency grants to cover basic needs. We've also recruited thousands of volunteers through the United Way Hands-On Entergy Volunteer Center, who have prepped and delivered 500,000 meals to older adults, which to date has generated over $3 million in direct impact. And then we rolled out a virtual financial capability education series, our 15 Minutes of Fame, Facebook Live program, to help households manage their finances throughout the pandemic. We also spearheaded a statewide survey in partnership with Louisiana Association United Ways to understand the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic on Alice households, and we'll be sharing those results with you very soon. We then launched our United for Early Care and Education effort in partnership with the Agenda for Children and the Loyola University College of Law with a $100,000 grant to provide legal and technical assistance to child care providers at risk of closing permanently due to COVID-19. We also secured $1.3 million in emergency food and shelter grants to aid local nonprofits and government agencies providing emergency support to vulnerable households. And then we invested $1.2 million in nonprofits to address the disproportionate impacts of COVID-19 on the African American community in Orleans Parish, thanks to a partnership and the generous support from BET. We also provided a voice for the voiceless, vulnerable Alice households through our state and federal advocacy efforts, which are ongoing as I speak. And then we launched a partnership just recently with GNO Inc. to fund a study that measured the digital literacy of workers in industries hard hit by COVID-19, so we can prepare to upskill those workers for in-demand high-wage jobs. And then we even squeezed in a partnership with New Orleans-born actor Anthony Mackie, one of my favorites, the Falcon from the Marvel's Avengers series, and with the New Orleans Council on Aging and Energy Corporation to raise support for grocery store workers through our United for Grocery Workers Relief Fund. Anthony even kicked us off with a $50,000 gift, which was matched by Entergy, and that's only the beginning. But we're also not just about providing immediate relief, but also about ensuring households and community partners have equitable access to supports necessary to achieve stability and ultimately prosperity. You see, we're committed to maintaining support of our agency partners and internal initiatives by meeting audacious 2020-2021 fundraising goals. We're developing programming to provide access to mental health support for vulnerable populations. We're also growing grass-top and grassroots advocacy for bipartisan legislation and policy to drive support to stabilize Alice households in charitable organizations. We're also providing more opportunities for key executives in our community and leaders to join our mission, be a part of the solution, and champion of our vision of equitable communities. We're also assessing and aligning our corporate partnerships with the needs of Alice and our community partners to drive equitable investment and impact within our region. And then we're developing our internal knowledge and practice to become a more equitable and equity-centered organization. You see, we've doubled down on our commitment to equity in the past 12 months. And following the deaths of Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, and others, we reaffirmed our vision for equitable communities where all individuals are healthy, educated, and economically stable. Far too many individuals and families find access to a better life, which is elusive for them. And we also believe that to achieve our mission, we must understand and address the underlying factors that impede progress. And by challenging practices based on racism, sexism, and other historical and current forms of discrimination, we can create a more inclusive community and more equitable outcomes for all individuals throughout our region. You see, we must be a leader in the fight for equity and strive to create communities where everyone has the resources, opportunities, and support they need to thrive. That means investing in programs and initiatives that ensure that every person in every community has access to quality education, including the knowledge and skills and the training they need to attain jobs that pay good wages, and the ability to live a healthy life. You see, equity is embedded in our approach to community impact, and it's also becoming a part of the DNA of who we are and how we work with communities to create positive change. I'm proud to inform you today that our United Way will roll out in the next phase of our equity work later this year with strategies and measurable outcomes by which to measure our progress along this journey. I will share the same promise with you that I shared in a personal message a few weeks ago. With the uncertainty in the year ahead, it seems only fitting to share with you once more. I promise, so long as I have a breath and the ability to work toward a place where all people are respected as equals and have equitable access to a quality education, quality health care, and quality opportunity, I will do just that. Promises are meant to be fulfilled, though, you see, and trust that I will do my part, as will United Way of Southeast Louisiana and all those that serve in support of our mission. Now with that, we'd like to take an opportunity to celebrate several individuals who always do their best in support of United Way, our 2019, our 2020 Live United Award winners. Earlier this month, we hosted a drive-through awards ceremony and delivered a few awards to our friends on the North Shore. And we can't thank you all enough for your efforts to advance our fight to eradicate poverty in Southeast Louisiana. Take a minute to watch this video. If you could see our faces, you'd see that we had big smiles on our faces, and we saw so many of our friends. Want to thank them for their ongoing support. United Way would not be the same without them. So now I'd like to introduce our 2019-2020 Board of Trustees Chair, Gary Lorio, to take care of a little business.
Thank you, Michael, and thanks everyone for joining our annual meeting. It has been a fun, exciting, challenging, and did I say an unprecedented year. My comments will be centered on the staff of United Way led by Michael. They have stepped up to the plate in every way imaginable. Their efforts to establish the Workers' Relief Fund, along with the advocacy for the ALICE workers, who we all know have been disproportionately affected by COVID-19, is why United Way exists, and quite frankly, why the board and myself are so dedicated to the mission. I've enjoyed the past year and feel with Michael and Kathy Mcrae's leadership, the United Way will become more and more relevant to help everyone in today's challenging, and I'll use the next word again, unprecedented times. So now I'd like to ask my fellow board member, Kathy Mcrae, to join me. As one of my remaining acts as chairman, we'll now move to the business portion of the meeting to hold our annual election of new trustees. Please remember that every one of you on today's call who have made a financial contribution to United Way in the past 12 months is an official member of the organization and entitled to the vote in the election. Kathy, please present the slate of nominations.
Thank you, Gary. I'm pleased to present the slate of nominations for the election to membership on the United Way Board of Trustees. For a first 3-year term, Rachel Shields, Brian Schofield, Paul Matthews, Tondra LeMay. Beginning their second 3-year term, Elwood Cahill, Mike Edwards, Gary Lorio, Rick Young. Beginning her third and final 3-year term, Marion Pierce. Mr. Chair, I move election of the slate of the Board of Trustees.
Thank you, Kathy. All in favor of the nominations, either say aye or go to the chat box and confirm your acceptance of the nominations. Anyone against can also say nay or to the chat box. Well, the ayes have it. Welcome to United Way's Board of Trustees, all our new members and returning members. Now I will temporarily adjourn the annual meeting in order to convene a meeting of the Board of Trustees so we can approve the slate of nominees for officers of the board. The annual meeting stands adjourned. The June meeting of the Board of Directors of the United Way of Southeast Louisiana is now officially convened. Kathy, will you please present the slate of nominees for officers?
Thank you, Gary. I am pleased to present the slate of officers for the 2020-2021 year. They are Chair, Kathy Mcrae, Vice Chair, Todd Smith, Secretary, Dr. Takesha Davis, Treasurer, Paul Reddick, Governor's Chair and immediate past Chair, Gary Lorio. I move the election of the slate as the officers of the Board of Trustees.
Thank you, Kathy. Like before, if you would say aye, or if you oppose, say nay, or comments to the chat box. The election of the vote of trustees is membership. All board members, I think, have affirmed the board, so congratulations to the new officers for the 2020-2021 year. I now declare the June meeting of the Board of Trustees adjourned, and I'm reconvening the annual meeting of the membership. Thank you, Kathy. Now it is my honor to recognize the distinguished members of the Board of Trustees who are retiring from service this year. Ending their service are Lori Bartholomew and Karen Bird. Thank you for your service to United Way and the people we serve. Lastly, I'd like to acknowledge our Tocqueville Cabinet Chair, Kathy Mcrae. We appreciate all that you do to advance the membership of Tocqueville, and your dedication to the society has not gone unnoticed. Thank you, Kathy. With that, I'm now going to welcome our 2019-2020 campaign chair, Hunter Hill. Hunter?
Thank you, Gary. Good afternoon, everyone. I hate we aren't able to join together in person today. but I'm glad we're able to join virtually so that we can recognize and celebrate the individual and collective efforts over the past year. What a year it has been. I stood before you last year accepting the reins of the annual campaign from Roger Ogden, who was leaving incredibly big shoes to fill. At last year's lunch, I told a story about growing up around the United Way fundraising effort and how I'd always looked forward to the opportunity to one day lead a campaign. The year started much like I envisioned. There were multiple meetings with staff to set goals and plan for the year. We put together a solid campaign cabinet and then kicked off the wider group effort in late summer. All along, Michael and I were meeting with as many of our top 60 most generous workplaces that we could schedule. Things were generally going as I envisioned until the spring, when all of our worlds turned upside down by the COVID-19 pandemic. From the campaign's perspective, the timing could not have been worse, as the virus was ramping up as we were entering our most crucial days and weeks of the campaign. While the campaign was certainly impacted by COVID-19, there were a number of highlights and successes that I believe are important to point out and that we should all be proud of. Before I wrap up the campaign highlights, I'd like to take just a quick minute to thank those that played a significant part this year. First, I'd like to thank the United Way board, led by Gary. Gary, it's been a pleasure to work with you this year, and I want to thank you for your challenge at last year's lunch. I turned the mic over to Gary last year, and he challenged me and the Iberia Bank team to join he and the Hancock Whitney team in the top 10 most generous workplaces. I guess we're going to see here in a little while how we did with that challenge. Secondly, I'd like to thank the campaign cabinet. I want to thank all of you for your hard work and dedication to the campaign this year. We would not have had the success that we did without all of you. And last but not least, I want to thank the United Way staff, Michael, Melody, Michelle, Cammie, and so many others that worked tirelessly throughout the year. I want to give you my sincerest thanks. Michael, you have a very dedicated team that is focused on the needs of our community, and they are doing everything within their power to meet those needs each day. It's been a pleasure working alongside all of you over the last year. So now to the highlights. When we look at the corporate accounts, which was a big focus of the campaign this year, employee giving grew by about 3%, or approximately $240,000. Of our top 60 campaigns, which account for about 65% of our campaign dollars, approximately half of those campaigns increased their giving from the prior year's campaign. Some of those wins that we want to note are Entergy. Entergy's really grew across the region. We're pleased to announce that Entergy has become the official sponsor of the United Way hands-on Entergy volunteerism to continue our volunteerism efforts across the region. This past year, nearly 5,000 volunteers produced nearly $800,000 in impact through that effort. The Zachary Group increased locations and presentations, which led to a substantial increase in campaign dollars raised. Chalmette Refining added events that brought in additional dollars to their campaign. Iberia Bank increased their employee giving as well as their sponsorship of events. Cornerstone Chemical saw a 24% increase in their giving. International Paper grew their golf tournament as well as their employee giving. And there are really just so many others that stepped up to the plate this year and answered the call. In closing, I just want to say how honored I am to have been involved this year. And I'm very grateful for all of you for your time, energy, and support. It was truly a team effort, and we should all be very proud of the progress that we made. So now we're going to turn it over, and we're going to announce the prestigious ranking of our top 10 most generous workplaces for the 2019-2020 year.
Thank you, Hunter. Appreciate your leadership. And I did see that Iberia Bank stepped up to the plate. So I do thank you for accepting the challenge. It's now my honor to introduce you to the 2020-21 Chair of the United Way of South Louisiana Board of Trustees, Kathy Mcrae. I pass the gavel to you, Ms. Mcrae. Go ahead.
Thank you, Gary. I am honored and humbled to be able to accept the gavel from you. Both you and Bob Kimbrough have been wonderful role models and mentors as board chairs, and I hope that I can take my learnings and follow your leads as we continue to move forward. And looking forward, while I have always been very proud to be associated with the United Way, I am truly amazed by the way Michael and his team, along with the Board of Trustees, have taken a hard look both inward and outward during these past few years. This has positioned our United Way to meet today's challenges head on, recognizing that the communities we serve, nearly half the population are ALICE, asset limited, income constrained, employed. From this, we set our vision to eradicate poverty here in Southeast Louisiana. To achieve this vision, we developed the Blueprint for Prosperity. This blueprint has guided us to achieve our vision in where to invest, collaborate, and advocate, to take a whole systems approach into solving our most pressing issues, providing stability today and prosperity tomorrow, making sure we looked after our personal wellness and to create vibrant communities. The outbreak of COVID-19 earlier this year has just really amplified these issues that we have been working on: disparities in education, economic mobility, the justice system, and personal health. Due to our foundational work during the past several years, we were able to rally with our partners to address the immediate needs of our communities. The Hospitality Cares Pandemic Relief Fund, recognizing the need and fragility of our early childhood care and education system through the United for Early Care and Education Fund, and most recently, the United for Grocery Workers Fund. Along with much needed advocacy in Baton Rouge and other funds and volunteerism with hands-on, we are addressing the immediate needs of our friends, our neighbors, and our communities. Now, as we look to the next year, we need to be able to work to address our long-term recovery around COVID-19. We know, based on past recoveries from hardships, that our most vulnerable will continue to need our support, and your United Way of Southeast Louisiana will be well positioned, along with our partners, to provide that support. We also looked inward around diversity and inclusion, both as an organization and as a board. This is so important at this moment where systematic racism has been captured and broadcast on the media and is once again being discussed on a national and even international stage. We have asked ourselves, how can we be better? How can we ensure our board and our United Way team reflect the communities that we serve and continue to support ALICE and enable our Blueprint for Prosperity to come to life? We also hold ourselves accountable, not only with difficult and necessary conversations, but through measurements and transparency. Please look at our website at unitedwaysela.org to see the impact we are making in our 7-parish area. We cannot do this work without the support and generosity of you. Now, more than ever, we have the call to change some of the systems that we've been working on to change and help eliminate disparities in education, health, and the criminal justice system. Now, more than ever, we need to fight for everyone to have the ability to earn a fair living wage and to provide economic mobility for all and have the ability to build their assets. Now, more than ever, our community needs us. Please join us and bring along a friend, a colleague, or 2 or 3. Give advocate, or volunteer, or all three of the above. Your investment in our United Way, now listen to this, your investment in our United Way returns over $4.37 for each dollar you invest, and much more through advocacy. These monumental times that we are living in, these are monumental times that we are living in, and we here are positioned, well positioned, to make systematic changes. When we look back on this time in history, what will we tell our children and our grandchildren? What did I do to make a difference? Help us seize this moment. We have the vision and the blueprint, and we just need you. Join us as we work to eradicate poverty in Southeast Louisiana. We have but one life to live, so let's live united. And with that, Gary, I haven't officially taken office, so Mr. Chairman, will you please do the honors?
Thank you, Kathy. That was very well said. And thank you, everyone, for joining us in this, I would just say, unique virtual experience and for being part of the United Way family. The meeting is formally adjourned. And Toya, would you please close us out?
Hey, Toya, you're on mute.
Sorry, I thought I was actually on my phone, so I apologize. But I do want to thank everyone for joining our virtual meeting today. Hopefully next year we'll be back together as a group. I want to thank Michael and his team. I also want to thank the board members. I want to thank all of the staff who worked so hard to get us to where we are right now. We don't always acknowledge them as much as we should. So we want to thank all of the staff who are behind the scenes, making sure that everything runs smoothly and that we're able to serve the number of individuals that we serve in our community. We also want to serve all of you who have given to the United Way, that you please keep giving. We're going to continue to have to address different challenges in our community, but if we all do this together, we can definitely live united and have a better community for all. So thank you so much for joining the meeting.